Welcome back to Theme Park Wizard. We're here after a big week of news, specifically Rise of the Resistance. I'm here to catch up on some old topics. So I'm sorry I haven't been reviewing stuff like the Imagineering story and the Mandalorian. Why I reviewed the Mandalorian, I combined a couple episodes, and now I'm gonna review episodes 3, 4, and 5 of the Imagineering story. Just give a quick, brief overview of my review for those episodes, and the Imagineering story, the last episode, is next week. So that was quick. 6 weeks went by very fast. So starting with episode 3, the Midas Touch. This is when Michael Eisner and Frank Wells, they're on a tear. Michael Eisner was very creative, and Frank Wells was the financial guy. So Mike Eisner would go big ambitious ideas, and Frank Wells would make sure there was enough money for all those ideas. And it was like a yin and yang, it was a perfect duo there. And they went rapid expansion on things like Thunder Mountain, new rides like Thunder Mountain. They built half-day parks like Hollywood Studios, Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, and the and other Hong Kong Disneyland, other parks like that. Then all of a sudden, unfortunately, Frank Wells died in a helicopter crash on his way to the snow. That really changed things because then Mike Eisner, he lost his financial man. He had to hire someone else. He lost his financial man. So he went from being all creative to also trying to figure out the business side of the parks, which really messed up things. It really messed up the parks because, and the creativity and the Imagineering, because then layoffs started to happen, budget cuts started to happen, parks shrank in size. It took a very bad turn for the worse, actually. And R.I.P. Frank Wells, for poor guy, died in the helicopter crash on his way up to the mountains. So kind of the Midas Touch kind of ended on a sour note, and it leads right into episode 4 here, Hit or Miss, which is when they talk about lots of Disney projects, lots of Imagineering projects that were hits, but a lot of them were misses. And some of the misses, again, they talk about Walt Disney Studios Park being pretty small, Hong Kong Disneyland not opening to the fanfare it was expected to, and of course Disney California Adventure being a complete and utter total mistake. How it started off as Westcott, and it got, because of budget cuts and things, it got shrank down into the whole new theme of California, and they thought it was such a great idea, but it was it got completely misfired, with one of the Imagineers even saying that he preferred it as a parking lot DCA 1.0. So, and they showed how it's just a lackluster area of rides, how's the postcard entrance, how people's reactions like, what is this? Like, what is that? And how there's no berm. It was completely terrible. Which I agree. In Superstar Limo, they even said how they knew Superstar Limo was an ill-fated attraction, but they're so far along in the design process and construction process that they just went along forward with it anyway. And how they knew that was a mistake, which is very truthful episode. I mean, I agree with DC 1.0. Now it's my favorite park, of course, but after the renovations. But the first 1.0 was a very bad park, but lots of quick fixes were initiated, of course, and that kind of leads us into episode 5, which is Carousel Progress. That's when Bob Iger took over. Started his rapid expansion. The first part, like 5 minutes of the episode, starts off with Pixar. how Disney's partnership with Pixar was ending. So Bob Iger was proactive and just bought out Pixar as their first acquisition of many acquisitions, of course, over Bob Iger's tenure, to keep the Disney property alive and expand it and make it even better in the empire it is today. So they start off with that. Then they go on with fixes to their parks. California Adventure, Disney Studios, Hong Kong. Specifically, they spent about that's half, 50% of the episode. They spent on the renovations to California Adventure from 2007 to 2012. And I think it was beautiful. I loved it, loved it. They acknowledged it was a mistake, of course. Even Bob Iger acknowledged it was a mistake. And he announced the most ambitious, he said, Imagineers were coming to him with the most ambitious plans. And even though he said it was, especially because it was during the recession, 2007 started around 2007, 2008, was the Great Recession, and he said that it was strained financially, but he's like, I'm gonna go ahead with it anyway. Now, good job, Bob Iger, because it worked. They showed the plans for Buena Vista Street and how they want to tell the story of how how Los Angeles was when Walt came here to Glendale and Burbank in 1920, and how it looked then. And of course, that led to the Hollywood Tower Hotel and that Hollywood Land, and then they spent a big segment on Cars Land. How the Imagineer, he loved cars. He's like, it's Car Land. But then, right at the same time they're developing Car Land again, because 2007 was the start of the renovations. 2006 was Cars, the Cars movie, the pretty successful Cars movie. So they made Carland into Cars Land. It was the first real IP land here at Disneyland, the Disneyland Resort, and the experimentation of that. So they said, let's make it just like the movie. They'd all out, and the main e-ticket attraction, Radiator Springs Racers, they try and figure out what rides it, and they said it can't be a roller coaster, like just roller coaster cars on rails, because that doesn't feel like a car. So they went over to Test Track and said, this is it. This is the ride system. In fact, that's the exact quote that John Lasseter said. He's like, this is it. This is the ride system. So yeah, just took modified Test Track cars and made them. They worked with Pixar Animation, and they made the characters from the movies, or from the Cars movies, and made Radiator Springs Racers. And they also spent a fair amount of time on the rock sculpture. They were sculpting the rocks for Radiator Springs Racers to make sure the height was good to block out any power poles and create DC's first real berm. I mean, Grizzly Peak's kind of a berm area because there's the hotel, but they didn't even want you to see the hotel. Fully immersive land is what they want you to be in, and they spent a lot of time on that, and that was fantastic. They moved over then to Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris. They were added to each attraction, the whole French section, in near Toon Studio over there, to make it authentic to France and give it a nice track this dark ride. And they started explaining about track this technology, and they use the same technology for Hong Kong Disneyland's expansion, the Big Grizzly Gulch with the mine cars, and then Mystic Manor, a Haunted Mansion style attraction, but they started from scratch because of the different culture of Chinese culture, which is very, very interesting. So I liked this episode a lot. I liked the last 3 episodes a lot, actually. And I'm very excited for the future of this series. Next episode on next Friday will be about Galaxy's Edge, the acquisitions. Oh, and they also talk about the acquisitions of Star Wars and Marvel, along with Pixar. But they're going to talk about Galaxy's Edge and Shanghai Disneyland. They ended this episode on Bob Iger developing Shanghai Disneyland. So that's what they're going to talk about mostly in the next episode, as well as Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So that should be super, super exciting. And what do you guys think of the last 3 episodes, the Midas Touch, Hit or Miss, and the Carousel of Progress? Let me know your thoughts below. And are you excited for the future of this series? And do you think there'll be a season 2? They kind of caught up to the time period of now, so I don't know if there can be a season 2, but maybe something for future projects and future ideas, sneak peeks, blue sky ideas. I don't know. Comment your thoughts below, and as always, have a magical day.